Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together we are Kenny and Renny. This is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after, man, that was a grinded out game. Like, I was tired after watching that game. Honestly, two teams absolutely grinding on each other, just the same way so many of you out there are grinding right now. 12:50 in the morning, and you're showing up to dissect a Jets game. Good for you. Good on you. We know we got great viewers of this show, so thank you for being there to tune in at this time. And we understand a lot of you are going to check it out in the morning. And the sucky boo-boos out there, Jets first loss on the road, shut out for the second time in the season. We know how the sucky boo-boos work. You know what? I may know better than ever how the sucky boo-boos work, because I got to say, after that Jays loss, game 7, I had to, turn off the TV and kind of roll into a ball after that. So I know what it's like to be a sucky boo. I became a sucky boo-boo. And you know what? For all the sucky boo-boos out there, a lot of you won't see this because the sucky boo-boos have a hard time, dealing with the loss afterwards and talking through it. And so I just wanted to say, all the criticisms I've had for the sucky boo-boos over the years, I feel your pain, see where you're coming from. I know what it's like. Still, buck up. That's game 7 of the World Series. It's not, game 13 of this season here. So we're going to get in to talking about this right now, which means it's time for us to hop in. You know what? I think today I'm going to drive a big old Toyota Tundra for the Jim Pattison Toyota on Region opening drive here, where Renny's going to hop in his vehicle, start cruising, maybe throw on a little interstate love song by the Stone Temple Pilots or something like that, and just kind of break down what I saw going on with this game here. It was said in the broadcast that this was, it was like a playoff game, right? And I know that's kind of I believe it's a little bit of an overused device that journalists and analysts use. Oh, the game's intense. It's like a playoff atmosphere out there. I think what we saw last year between the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues in the first round of the playoffs, and then against the Dallas Stars after that, made it evidently clear, the playoff hockey is a step up into another stratosphere. But what I will say is this was a hard competed game. Like I had said, I felt tired from watching that game, just sitting on the couch going through that. But what I witnessed is at the beginning of the game, the Winnipeg Jets kind of do what they do and what they do best, and they establish their pattern. They're coming out, they're grinding, they're doing their thing. And, they're like water. And I know we're cruising down the road in the Toyota Tundra right now, but I want you to imagine kind of being in a boat, right? And you're trying to keep yourself. We're in Manitoba. I think there's 100,000 lakes in Manitoba. Most of the people I'm talking to out there right now are going to have been in a boat before. And when you get into the boat and the wind's blowing and it's kind of pushing you off course a little bit, and maybe the engine, ran out of gas like Renny did back when he was a teenager one time on the Winnipeg River and was left to the currents and the winds and all those kind of things. All I had was a paddle, right? And when you're kind of getting blown against the rocks, you got that paddle, you can keep yourself off the rocks, right? But it's hard. And you got to keep going, because if you stop and you take a rest, then the water takes over and boom, you're up against the rocks, right? In this little analogy that I'm creating for you here, the Winnipeg Jets are the water. It's just constant pressure. They do everything right, and it's over and over and over again. And it's why so far this season we've seen games where, let's go back to that Calgary game. Nazem Kadri doesn't put in the effort on the back check that one time. Mark Scheifele capitalizes. Boom, it's in the back of the net. Because you know what? The Calgary Flames in that game, they stopped paddling the boat to keep it off the rocks. And the Winnipeg Jets are the water. Constant, incessant pressure that is coming at you. It's a good thing. Water erodes. Water finds the weaknesses. It makes its way into the cracks. It makes those cracks bigger. It creates that pressure. Do you know what I mean? And that's the Winnipeg Jets. They play that style. And I'll tell you this, I checked out a bunch of other games today, the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars, the Montreal Canadiens against the Philadelphia Flyers. And what became just absolutely evidently clear to me is what I've said in the past about the Winnipeg Jets reaching their game long before other teams do. Part of that, and part of what makes the Winnipeg Jets special, is that they choose to try to reach their game at the beginning of the year and carry it throughout the entirety of the season. I watched that Montreal Canadiens game. I watched the Philadelphia Flyers in that game go up 3-0 and then, surrender a 4-3 lead. And then the Montreal Canadiens get ahead of them in that game. And then their standard slips after that, allows them back in this game. I watched the Edmonton Oilers do what they've been doing for, early in the season for the last 3 seasons now, go up on the Dallas Stars and then let their standards slip a little bit, go out and score a goal to make it 3-1. And then right away, the Dallas Stars come back out and score a goal. Not that kind of Winnipeg Jets building on the pressure, right? Last game, score with, what was it? 15 seconds into the game, and then a couple minutes later, another goal. Not that. It's kind of like, okay, we're up 3-0, sag, fall off the standard. The Winnipeg Jets are a team that is committed to reaching their standard and holding that standard for as long as possible in a league full of teams that, especially at the beginning of the season, just aren't. They aren't. And it's what makes the Winnipeg Jets special. It's what makes them different. It's what makes them a team that is hovered around and last year got to the top of the NHL mountain in the regular season because of that consistency, because they consistently are trying to reach that where other teams are trying to get to that every once in a while and then fall off it. The Jets are committed to it. So when you play the Winnipeg Jets, one of a couple things happens depending on the reaction from the opposing team. If you have a game like they had against the Philadelphia Flyers earlier in the season, and the Philadelphia Flyers just aren't there and aren't ready and committed to matching that standard, well, they just get run over. And a game like that looks like, I don't know if it was, I think it was Kevin Swear, maybe it was Dan Robertson had said after that, or no, actually, I think it was Paul Edmonds, said it looked like, big brother playing little brother in that game, where the Jets are just above and beyond, because at that time, looks like they're starting to pick it up under Rick Tocchet, but the Philadelphia Flyers just did not seem interested in trying to match the Jets standard. A lot of people always said, when you're the top team, teams come in gunning for you. I don't necessarily agree with that either. I think that Philadelphia game was a perfect example of that. But what I do think you see a lot in a lot of games where the Calgary Flames kind of did this, you definitely saw this from the LA Kings on this night. And you'll say, well, there's these games where the Jets come in and they play some lower seeded teams, and they're always like a little bit of a hard fought game. I think what it is I thought you saw it with the LA Kings. The beginning of that game, I'm watching the Winnipeg Jets, and they're basically doing that thing where it's like, okay, we've got the puck, we're getting in your zone, and like water, like waves, we're crashing on you. Notice that what I'm doing here, depth of field here, crashing on you. And, then you get the puck out and you flip it to center, or maybe you get it to center ice and then you dump it in, the Jets just pick it up and come back and keep crashing on you, right? I saw that the Winnipeg Jets were at a level of commitment to their game and a level of grind that LA wasn't matching. And then at some point you could see it click for LA, that LA was like, okay, if we're going to win this game, we have to grind. So some teams quit on the grind, like I thought Philadelphia did the number of games back, and then they just get run over. And then other teams say, okay, this is our challenge on this night. Maybe another team will come in for the next game and we'll have a little bit of an easier time. But I saw a moment where it felt like it clicked, that the LA Kings were like, okay, we're in a fight here. And if we're going to be in a fight, we might as well fight back. And then, I think the LA Kings are going to walk away from this game, and it's going to be the best thing that's happened to them early in this season, because the Winnipeg Jets are going to have shown LA, this is the level that you got to get up to do what you do, because the LA Kings are a team if you saw it tonight, very similar. It's the Spider-Man meme, very similar to the Winnipeg Jets. They can grind, they can shut you down, they can basically pressure you in the when you're in the offensive zone. They don't give you a lot of space. They can grind down in your zone. And that's what I think I saw happen here tonight, was the Winnipeg Jets win a lot of games in the regular season where they basically just go in and out-compete everybody else. And a lot of times, and like I said, they're like water. It's pressure. If you make that mistake, if you're Nazem Kadri and you decide not to back check that one time, boom, it's in the back of the net. That's the winning goal. Winnipeg Jets walk away with 2 points because they're like water. If you're going to play the Winnipeg Jets, you need to be the dam. You need to compete for every puck. You need to stand. You need to hold firm against that pressure, and you need to do it from the drop of the puck all the way to the final whistle, to the final horn, because the Winnipeg Jets do not stop coming. They are water. That pressure keeps going. I thought, I'm saying there's another level, obviously, for these teams to rise to. If you were the Winnipeg Jets and you had designs on, maybe getting first place, which I think they do, and I think that the way they play, yeah, they lost tonight. I still see the pattern of the Winnipeg Jets as one that I think is going to get them to the top of the Central Division. I've changed already my preseason prediction where I thought they'd finish second and third. I do think they'll finish first in the Central again this year. If the LA Kings fall into that wild card spot, that would be a tough draw, because the LA Kings, I think, have shown time and time again that when it comes to playing the Winnipeg Jets style of play, they are more than willing and more than accepting of playing that style of play, more than capable of playing that style of play. And you'd be looking at a grinded out 6 or 7 game series if those two happen to run into each other. That, my friends, is the Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent opening drive here before we bring Kenny into the show. And I know finding the right vehicle can feel like a big decision, but the team at Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent make it easy. They'll help you find the perfect fit from their wide selection of new and pre-owned Toyotas, all backed by great service and honest advice. So if you're ready for something new, stop by Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent or start your search online at jptoyotaregent.com. And you know what? If you're down there and you're walking in, go ask for Mike. He's the sales manager there. He's a former goaltender. He's weird like a former goaltender, but good weird, right? Like Connor Hellebuck's a little weird. Yeah, the kind of weird that you win a Hart Trophy and you win a Vezina Trophy, top level service kind of stuff. So go see Mike, tell him Kenny and Renny sent you. And while we're telling people Kenny and Renny sent you, let's send for Kenny right now. Put the bat signal up in the air and get him coming into the show here. Time for the man with the best music in the business, folks. Here comes Kenny. Ken, it's probably a lot to ask at 1 o'clock in the morning, but neither of us dressed like Vittorio Rossi men. So people are going to have to remember, or maybe what we do is we show you how far the standard can fall every once in a while, right? You see us all dressed up in our Vittorio Rossi gear, and then you see this, and then you think, yeah, okay, there's a place, there's a level to get to. And they're definitely not hitting that level right now, but you've seen us do it enough times to know that if you want to level up from what you're seeing here right now, you know where to go level up. That's Corden Avenue. Head on down to Vittorio Rossi. Walk in, loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you. Ask for Frankie and the boys, and they will do you up right. Ken, grinded out game. Is that a fair analysis of what we saw there tonight?
Yeah, no doubt. What we saw was the Kings kind of impose their style on the Jets, similar to the way the Jets often impose their style on their opponent. I thought you nailed it in the opening there and the Jim Pattison opening drive for the good folks on Regent Avenue. Yeah, I mean, there were chances at various points for the Jets, but for the most part, they got bottled up. As Scott Arniel pointed out in his post-game assessment just a few minutes ago, mostly one and done in this game. It wasn't for a lack of effort or will or determination. It just, the Kings were absolutely outstanding. I thought the Kings penalty kill was absolutely flabbergasting towards the Jets power play, especially in the third period. The pressure point attack was incredibly impressive. And yes, that can get you in trouble on occasion when you are that aggressive or overly aggressive, if you will. But it did not come back to haunt them. They were excellent at it, and they drove the Jets a little bit wild when it came to their power play. Just not enough good quality looks when the game was still very tight. And again, didn't take much. Jets were very sound defensively, with the exception of the Kempe goal. I think there were several coverage issues. Again, Scott Arniel pretty forthcoming in the post game, but he wasn't going to point any fingers. He said it was a five-man issue. But yeah, I mean that's the kind of play that we've seen before. But it's the kind of play that, I mean, you pre-scouted and, he came short of saying it, but that's kind of a goal that can't happen. You just sort of have to, you can't overplay Yoel Armia behind the net. And, again, we talk about this all the time. Adrian Kempe, you got to have his stick. If you don't have his stick, you have to have his stick covered, or else you don't have him covered. I mean, this is just, that's as simple as it gets. Adrian Kempe has become the Chris Versteeg of recent days. He is the torturer of the Jets of late. That's 6 games in a row with a point. He's got 5 goals and 10 points in that span. He has driven them a little bit bonkers. And not to go off track, Sean, but I mean, we talked about the importance of the Jets signing Kyle Connor before becoming a UFA. Come on, if you're the Kings, you have to get that deal signed. And if you don't, the Jets should be at the front of the line for Adrian Kempe as a rental. I mean, he's just such an impactful player. Again, I don't think it gets to that point, obviously, and I'm not trying to raise anyone's hopes or expectations, but I love the way Kempe plays. He plays with an edge. He's a skilled player, has the ability to score 40 plus. He is a leader on that team, and he shows up in the big games, whether that's in the regular season or the playoffs. Sean, you touched on it. The Kings, it's so interesting, right? The Kings just can't get over the Oilers hump, right? So we thought maybe last year the Kings sort of elevated their game. They upgraded their goaltending with Darcy Kemper, Stanley Cup champion. Maybe this was going to be the year, and it just wasn't, right? I mean, the Oilers, dismantled them essentially. So some teams you match up difficult with. The Jets matchup difficulty has come with LA. Yes, I understand they beat them 3-2 earlier this year in Winnipeg, but the game's at Crypto. The Jets cannot find a way to score. They get bottled up. And I don't think their frustration showed a ton today, but they just weren't able to generate enough. And that this was kind of one of those games where if you don't generate enough, you're gonna have a hard time winning. It's that simple.
Well, I'll tell you this, the Jets could use the pristine roofing wake-up call out in Crypto Arena, because they cannot seem to score when they get out there. So you know what that means. Time to give North End Rick, even though it's 1 o'clock in the morning, time to give North End Rick the pristine roofing wake-up call at 204-981-6289. He's the guy you want down at your place for all your roofing, siding, and exterior needs. He'll take a look, tell you exactly what needs to be done. You can also call Pristine Roofing directly at 204-237-7663. Give your home the pristine roofing and siding wake-up call. You will be glad that you did. I promise you. I wanted to just touch on this. Now, I can't tell if I'm right or I'm wrong on this one. My early season prediction of Ehlers being out, now maybe that's just this game. But I do think what we're not seeing as much when the Jets are pushing to come back, and they've been leading quite a bit, so the sample size is most definitely small. But I thought tonight when they were trying to push towards the end of the game there, they didn't have the ability to gain the zone, like I said. So if I go back and I just quickly say, Ehlers gets you the puck. His speed is so dangerous. He backs people off. He not only gets you across the blue line and in the zone, but he does so in a way where the opposition can't match his speed, so they collapse to the middle of the ice. And now the Jets just work it around the boards. We didn't see that here tonight. We didn't see that kind of extended push. We saw that LA was able to get out and kind of jump and challenge the Jets along the boards. There was a couple times like the Jets were able to get it in their zone, but it's that swing, right? And every time the puck gets sent down the ice, that's just another example of the Jets, that's time that they have to take it out, set it back up, get it back in. I wonder, Ken, what are you seeing from the Jets? And I'm actually thinking this is going to be a time where you disagree with your boy Renny. But what are you seeing from the Jets as far as that kind of unreal kind of comeback ability where it's almost like you're expecting it to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that in today's game, they never really got to that point just because of the way that it shook down with the Nemestikov 4-minute double minor, and then they score the second power play goal to make it 2-0. But yeah, I mean, the Jets don't have a one-man zone entry machine like they had with Ehlers. I mean, I'm ready to I can concede that. I don't think that that's stepping out of any comfort zone. I mean, that's something that we've known for years, but the Jets still know how to enter the zone. I mean, they have guys who can get retrievals. They won a bunch of draws late in the game in the offensive zone. So, I mean, they still had opportunities to attack. They just didn't get to the guts of the ice as well enough. And again, Nikolai Ehlers scored his first goal today. It was what happened to be watching when he did score on the power play. So, kudos to him for kind of getting that, imaginary monkey off his back and probably tossing it into the crowd with that power play marker. Vintage Ehlers downward plane, gets the puck with speed, wrist shot off the post and in, great screen by Winnipegger Seth Jarvis. Yeah, I mean, the Jets are still adapting to life without Ehlers. I think that's also fair. Today, lineup looked a little bit different. You didn't have the speed of Morgan Barron and the power, but you did have Adam Lowry back. And, in just over 14 minutes, I thought Lowry had some pretty effective shifts. I mean, he had 4 hits. He had 1 shot on goal. Obviously it wasn't as strong in the face-off circle as we're used to seeing. He had a tough night there, but he also was going up against Anze Kopitar a lot. So the dynamics are still very much in flux, Sean, for sure. Until the Jets show that they can have comeback wins like they did. I mean, the broadcast did a great job of showing the 6-month anniversary of the Manitoba Miracle. And yeah, I mean, Nikolai Ehlers was a big part of that. I mean, getting the puck, over to Kyle Connor after the second effort, after he found on the shot. I mean, heads up play by Connor to find Perfetti. They're going to have to find ways where they can attack that way in late in games when they're down. I mean, they haven't been down a ton, as you mentioned, but again, I think the Jets will find a way to attack those things. But yeah, I mean, we knew that was one thing the Jets would be missing when Ehlers decided to go elsewhere. And to this point, they haven't had enough of a sample size for me to say one way or another if they can or cannot find those ways to get the job done, which again, I expect them to do so. But it's a challenge. There's no doubt about that.
If we're talking about the loss of Nikolai Ehlers and how that affects them, they've tried to rebuild the team in a very different way, and that's, of course, the Jonathan Toews. No, I wouldn't say experiment. I think this is already something that we can lock in and say the Jets have pulled something off that is working very well for them. I thought, Ken, that this was, I know they get shut out, but I thought the Jets' second line, Jonathan Toews' line, was their best line on this night. And I thought that this may have been Jonathan Toews' best game. Never mind the maybe. I personally took a look, saw the way that he was playing. I thought this was Jonathan Toews' best game. I didn't see any dips at all. I saw constant pressure throughout the night. I saw him being the Winnipeg Jets player that in my mind was the closest to making things happen outside of Gabriel Velarde, who had some really phenomenal moments on this night that almost turned into things. You could sure see he wanted to beat his old teammates. But what did you take away from the way Jonathan Toews' line played on this night?
Yeah, excellent. They're really meshing well. We've talked about it a ton. Vladislav Nemestikov looks really good on the wing. Kind of tough break on the double minor. I mean, that's a puck that's bouncing in the air. You just have to have control of your stick there. Just a little bit of an unlucky break, catching Corey Perry in the face and drawing blood for the double minor. Alex Iafallo really seems to be meshing well with Jonathan Taves. And Sean, you'll remember, I mean, this is something that we talked about in training camp, right? I mean, um, we weren't sure about Nyquist, how the fit was going to be. I mean, now he's hurt, but we always wondered if Alex Iafallo might be a guy that had to go up on that line at some point, even if Perfetti was there, just because of that dog on a bone kind of disruption, uh, ferocious, tenacious forecheck, puck retrievals, all of those things. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they're meshing well together. I thought Taves himself had a very strong game again. Really great scoring chance near the end of the second period again. Really made a smart play. He looked very calm, and as we've talked about from the beginning, on the power play, Jonathan Taves looks like he's a step ahead of the game most of the time. Right, his hockey intelligence has been on display from the very beginning. Always seems to make the smart play, putting the puck in a better position than where it left when it was on his stick. At 5-on-5, I thought he was generating a little bit more offense today. I like the way he was moving around. And Sean, this is the kind of game that, Jonathan Taves can excel in. I mean, he's played against the Kings a ton. He played a ton of high leverage games against them in those glory years between 2010 and 2015 when they won the 3 cups, but also went to 2 Western Conference finals, I think, against the Kings. Again, there was some heartbreak hotel, Alec Martinez in game 6 or 7, whichever it was. So the fact that Taves can excel in a game as heavy as that one would be incredibly encouraging if you're Scott O'Neill, for me, Sean, right? I mean, we know Scott O'Neill has reiterated how much he's liked the progression from Taves, but it was a big boy game. Let's put it that way. It was a really important game. It was a physical game. It was a tightly contested, tight checking game. And again, we've talked about it from the beginning. Taves is going to excel when the games get harder. This was a game that got harder, and some of the Jets weren't able to generate much in this game, but Taves' line was not one of them. I thought that they were excellent in the game itself, and with a little bit of puck luck, they could have easily tied the game, or whatever else you want to say. I mean, they had opportunities to get that equalizer throughout the contest before they gave up the second goal.
Yeah. I don't know. If you take a look at the natural stat trick, if you follow that, it looks actually like a building game for the LA Kings. They got better and better as it went on, and the Jets kind of stopped being able to generate chances as the game went on. If you compare the two, couple things I wanted to touch on here. One of them being our main man Schickster, who asks a great question about, hey, with Jonathan Taves doing what he's doing, what's going to happen? What are we doing with sorry, I don't know how this came up here. What are we doing with Cole Perfetti when he gets back there? A great question, which was answered by Kenny on the last KNR show that you missed, Schickster. How do I know you missed it? Because you never claimed your keg save of the game, my man. You still got to reach out to me for that. So, yes, we had that conversation. We're not going to make everyone sit through it again. And I've got on both sides of things a little bit of a hot take.
Yeah.
Good hot take. Bad on this, as Mackie says, why does it seem like the league doesn't care a flip about the poor Jets start times? You don't see the Leafs playing at 10:30 p.m. EST in LA. I mean, maybe you got something there with the Leafs, but I did a Ottawa LA game last year, and it had been something like 13 straight games LA had to play at a different start time. And now part of that had to do with they were, going, but like afternoon game, evening game, travel out west. But in LA, in crypto, it's like very common for their start times to get jumbled around because of things that happened with the arena. So this is one of these feel sorry for the Jets moments here that you're just way off. This is more of an issue.
Only
for
7:30
the
there.
Kings. This is an issue for the LA Kings, who are constantly struggling with oddball starting times for games. The Jets just happen to go visit the team that has the oddball starting time. So I know people people sometimes want to feel sorry for themselves, this is one of those times that it just doesn't bear fruit. And this one, Jeff Kabilli says, Taves is the best thing to happen for Vladdy. This is brilliant because this is the best version of Vladislav Nemestikov we've ever seen before. And it's just basically been unlocked because he's playing with one of the greatest players to ever play the game. And they just seem to see each other in a way that so many other people don't. So we've got 2 examples of hot takes on this show. I love it. I love it when I can do both. So we've got multiple KNR hot takes today, brought to you by Flame and Comfort, Manitoba's premier supplier of fireplaces, wood stoves, inserts, and everything hearth related. After 50 years heating up your world, Flame and Comfort has moved to 1465 St. James, where you will find it is one of the most impressive showrooms in all of Western Canada. You don't need your hot takes to keep that warm feeling inside, folks. Visit Flame and Comfort. They will take care of it for you. Okay, lots to get to. Part of that, well, okay, I want to go in this direction. I want to go to the goalie duel that we saw here tonight. And I want to do this because it allows me to tell this story, Ken, you've heard me talk about before. You were on the ice with me when it happened. And I do believe I've told this story on the show before. But Darcy Kemper, we were on the ice when he won the cup with the Colorado Avalanche. And I chatted with him afterwards, and he was with his dad. The backstory to this is that years ago, pre-COVID, when Darcy Kemper was with the Phoenix Coyotes at the time, he was, if you remember, he was a really good goaltender then. And it kind of stood out. And before the Jets were getting Vamelka, they'd get Kempered sometimes, right? And Kemper was this guy who, on a team that just never was doing very well, every once in a while they'd win a game because Kemper would just go out and steal a game for them, right? And I remember having a conversation really early on, and it was the first year that Connor Hellebuck won the Vezina Trophy, and he had kind of talked about, okay, because I'd said this, that first Vezina Trophy win was different than the last 2 Vezina Trophy wins, where Connor Hellebuck was just really, really dominant. And he basically wins because the Jets are so dominant. His numbers are so dominant. And I've always tried to make a point of it the last couple of years. The Jets as a team, Connor Hellebuck is lucky to be with the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets make Connor Hellebuck look like Connor Hellebuck does. Connor Hellebuck has a whole lot to do with it, but I'm trying to say this. He's lucky to be in the situation he's in and how the Winnipeg Jets play defense in front of him. When he won his first Vezina, it was a different story. It was a Winnipeg Jets team that just kind of threw defense out the window, hung him out to dry, and he basically stands on his head and gets them over the line into the playoffs, right? Well, back then, there weren't a lot of goalies that won Vezinas when they weren't a top team. It wasn't often the 8th seed or a lower seed goaltender won the Vezina because he dragged them over the line, right? And one of the things when I asked him about that, the idea that, because if I remember correctly, his numbers weren't necessarily top of league numbers back then. And the argument against him was, well, other guys have better save percentage or whatever. And it's like, no. Look what this guy goes through every night. And look at some of that was when, new stats, fancy stats, if you want to call them, that were being popularized, that were saying Connor Hellebuck is better than you think he is. And here's the stats that say so. And I asked him about that and kind of hidden value in goaltenders. And he said, well, I'm kind of proud about winning that Vezina because of that, because it is showing that there's some really great goalies out there that don't get recognition. And I'd said to him, well, is there anyone you think that doesn't get recognition, and talked about how great they are? And he'd said, Darcy Kemper. Darcy Kemper is an amazing goaltender, and he went on and raved about him for a whole bunch of time, right? I had personally thought, in the whole goaltenders union, they'd had conversations and maybe reached out or whatever.
Right.
Darcy Kemper is on the ice. He's just won a Stanley Cup. He's standing there with his dad. I'm talking with him and, interviewing him and talking to his dad. And I bring this up about Connor Hellebuck saying this about him. And he says, what? And I said, yeah, Connor Hellebuck talked about what a big fan he was of your game and, this and that. And Darcy Kemper and his dad look at each other, and it was like he's like, you just paid me one of the biggest compliments that I've ever had in my life, to think that Connor Hellebuck thinks that I'm a really good goaltender. And it's like, dude, you just won the Stanley Cup. Like, isn't that the headline here? But for him on his newspaper the next day, it was like, Connor Hellebuyck thinks I'm great as I win the cup in like small print, right? So it's a long win. I just wanted to tell that story because I always find that fascinating. But Darcy Kuemper showed up here tonight, and now that I think about it, most times he plays the Winnipeg Jets, he kind of shows up. He wins the Sean Reynolds Award on this night. What did you think of the goaltenders duel that we saw tonight?
Yeah, I mean, certainly interesting. I mean, high dangers were pretty close at 5-on-5. What do we got? It's 8-6 for LA, all situations, 11 all. So, I mean, both goalies were tested. I mean, I don't think it was a crazy high volume game, Sean, but there were some absolute beauty saves that were made. And, Kuemper, let's not kid ourselves. He was very solid. But I mean, that one that kind of rolled down his back was there was an element of luck on that one, but otherwise very solid. I thought he was very sound mechanically, challenged when he needed to, made the saves that he needed to make. I thought, honestly, one of the differences in the game, Connor Hellebuyck tried to go paddle down to prevent the pass from Armia behind the net to Kempe, almost got it, but it slid underneath. Mark Scheifele with the chance on the power play, he was poke checked by Darcy Kuemper, right? So something as little as a poke check, one gets made, the other one gets underneath the paddle. I mean, that's the difference in the hockey game. I'm not blaming the goalies for that. I'm just pointing out that, in a game with a very slim margin, Kuemper just made one extra save. I mean, I think the best save of the game was made by Hellebuyck on Kuzmenko, but Kuemper also was tested in the first period. Not a ton of grade A looks for either team. I think both coaches would probably be happy with what they gave up. Probably would have wanted to generate a little bit more. But again, we've seen this time and time again. If the Kings get the lead, they are very, very difficult to play against. You have to be incredibly patient because they're going to sit back, even though the style has changed a bit under Jim Hiller. They're still a very sound defensive team, and that's beneficial to both goalies. I mean, I think it's an important game for Kuemper, more important than for Hellebuyck, because the Kings haven't really been playing well at home, Sean. They led the league in home ice percentage last year. This year, they had not won a game yet. This was their, they had they were 0-3-2 or whatever. It was their sixth game of the year at home, and they finally won, and they needed a shutout to get the job done. So you have to give your stick taps to Kuemper for his effort. I thought Hellebuyck was sound. Second goal, I mean, Fiala just point blank shot. First one, coverage error. I mean, he was stellar. He was solid, but Kuemper just a little bit better in this game. And I'd also say that the defense was probably better in front of Kuemper in this game.
Well, I'll say this. I thought Dylan DeMello was brilliant on this night.
Yep.
Like, I thought he was, and there were just times I was thinking to myself, people do not talk about the way that he kills plays, right? Like, how often do you see a guy come in with speed, go down the wing, challenge that defender, and the defender just kind of rides him to the back of the net and then gives him the back of the net and then tries to meet him on the other side, and how often does he say, nope, I'm just directing you to the corner, knocking the puck off your stick and taking it back, or forcing you into the boards and then letting the puck squirt out and having the next guy come pick it up. He's brilliant. But on that one, he gets caught in the wrong spot. He goes in front of the net and the player's behind there, fakes the pass, and he bites on it and vacates the front of the net. And then, like, it's actually the unlikely duo of Dylan DeMello, who, let's be honest, Ken, gets that goal back later in the game by stealing a wide open net, right?
Yep.
So he's doing his thing to, allowed one on the board, but took one off the board. But it's also Josh Morrissey who gets beat to the front of the net by Kempe for that goal there. So it was a little bit unlikely on that one. I thought Connor Hellebuyck was really good on this night. And to be honest, one of the things I guess that I would say I probably didn't talk about as much last year with Connor Hellebuyck is even on the nights where the Jets were getting beat, it's still like, wow, like he was good that night. He gave you every chance to kind of come back in that game. And the one thing about Connor Hellebuyck is, for the most part, he's going to make you earn the win. Just like I talked at the beginning of the show about the Jets and the pressure that they apply. it's another way of saying if you're going to win a game against the Jets, you're going to earn it. Like LA earned it tonight. Maybe the only game I haven't really seen where a team was forced to earn a win against the Jets this year was that first one against Dallas. I can't really think of too many last year. Connor Hellebuck's part of that. Like Connor Hellebuck is typically forcing you to earn a victory against him. And I thought tonight what was an example of that. Absolutely no doubt.
Velarde.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's go to Velarde.
Just quickly.
Just
you go and then I'll go.
No, you go first.
I think we're in agreement here. I mean, I think that's a goal that should count, but if we're talking about how the play has been called over the last couple of years, for the people up in arms and the conspiracy theorists, this is very simple. When the offensive player enters the blue paint on his own volition, yes, there may have been a bump from the Kings defender, but mostly Velarde was going to the front of the net for a screen. And once that happens, if there is contact with the goaltender, and there is contact, I do think from the back angle, it looks like Kemper initiates the contact, but I think it's the left elbow of Velarde catches Kemper in the shoulder or underneath the shoulder. And I think that's when you have contact like that, I do think you can understand why the goalie interference is called. Sean, you and I are in agreement. I think that's a goal that should count. I think that goalies in this situation, I think the goalie kind of takes advantage of the player being in that space because of how it is getting called, but it's consistent. I mean, goalie interference is not always a consistent call. It's a tough call, but that one is consistent with almost every single call that's been made over the last 2 years. I understand some Jets fans aren't going to be happy about it. And again, for the betterment of the game, I think that's a goal that should go on the board, but I'm not surprised that it was not overturned.
Well, I'll say this, and I think I've been really consistent on this. I hate where we've gone with the league. I've said this before. I think the perfect screen involves just a little bit of goaltender
For
interference,
sure.
right? Like I love that era of hockey where now I didn't love the clutch and grab era, but in the clutch and grab era, goaltenders needed to kind of fight for positioning to get that puck. And every once in a while, before we had all these reviews,
Right.
guys would get away with it. What was his name? The mule? Was
Franzen.
Franzen. Johan Franzen. Yeah, no, you're right. It's Franzen. It's Franzen was the guy in Detroit who was just like, and you know what? To be honest, it was what's his name out of Florida last year. Like every single time he's in front of the net, the shot's coming by, and oops, he's falling backwards and landing on top of the goaltender, Sam Bennett. So I mean, I honestly, I like the era of hockey where you really had to fight your way to play it. Do you know what I mean? I didn't like the headshots. I didn't like the clutch and grab, slowing things down, all those kind of things. But I did like that level of earning things, right? So this whole like no contact thing, I hate this kind of stuff. Like, 24-year-old me, if you would have like fast forwarded me in a time machine and dropped me in front of the TV and said, hey, by the way, this goal isn't going to count, I would have been like, what are we doing here? What is this life become? I would say to Jets fans, if that was Connor Hellebuck and it was a reverse role, I'm going to tell you this. Now, I'm not even going to bring the fans into it and what the fans would think, because honestly, the fans would think it's a goal if it's the Jets score it, and they'd think it's not a goal if the Jets were scored against. Connor Hellebuck would have argued to the committee that he is always speaking to about like what is and what isn't goaltender interference, that was goaltender interference. I'm very, very confident of that. So I'm not sitting here conspiracy theorizing that the Winnipeg Jets got jobbed on this night. Ken laid it out absolutely perfectly. These goals have not been counting. Do I think they should? Yes. No one cares what Renny thinks, and there's a good reason for that.
I do.
Well, Ken does. Anyway, so that's that. Either way, what it means in the long haul is that Gabe Velarde didn't score on that play, but you could score a great rate with Cambridge Credit Union. Getting a mortgage doesn't have to throw you off your game while you throw you off your game like apparently Gabe Velarde did to Darcy Kemper. While you focus on home sweet home, our friends at Team Cambrian Credit Union take care of the mortgage part with their low rates. Whether you're looking for a new home, renewing, or making the switch, Cambrian is your mortgage MVP. They can help make the next season of your mortgage path easier and help save you money. Now, that's what we call a win. Head to cambrian.mb.ca/rates for more. And Ken, why don't you give Sweet Lou a shout out while you're at it?
For sure. For folks who have realty needs you'd like to have met, contact Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage and Ambic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU@LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including this podcast.
All right, there was a great question asked in the chat room. I didn't star it, but you know who you are. Great question, asking why the Jets' power play was so challenged by the LA Kings on this night. Do you want to start?
Yeah, just all pressure. I mean, for me, they attacked the puck carrier at all points, and then they had a second. It's not just attacking the puck carrier; it's attacking where the puck carrier is going to be forced to move the puck. The Kings have done a very good job at that in the last couple of years here. Again, we always talk about it. I love the fact that Quentin Byfield is now part of that penalty killing unit. Sean, this is an offensive player that's being tasked with, we know that Anze Kopitar is retiring at the end of the year. He's so good on the draws and he's been so good in the PK for so long. Doughty making life difficult for Mark Scheifele and Gabe Vilardi and whoever made their way to the front of the net. I just think that, they were very aggressive, and sometimes that aggression can get you in trouble, but I thought the Kings did a fantastic job. And, I'll turn it over to you. And then I got a quick question, power play related to you afterwards about Kyle Connor. I mean,
sure. It's aggression. It's not willy-nilly aggression.
Exactly.
So it's very similar to what the Winnipeg Jets do and why they've got such a successful penalty kill. And it's because they not only do they pressure the puck and say, we're just not giving you that. Hey, Mark Scheifele, we know what you do when your back is to the wall and we give you space. We know what you do. You move the puck here, you move the puck there, you set things up, and you guys start moving us like chess pieces on the board. We're not letting you do that. We're not letting you move us. We're going to move you. But that aggression, while it looks like it's just like, there's the guy with the puck, let's get to him as quick as we can, that doesn't work. And the Jets eat that up, because what the Jets do is when you go to jump out on that one guy, they pass it to the next guy, and then the next guy goes, and the next guy goes, and eventually everyone runs to someone, and the Jets end up finding the one open guy, and then boom, it's in the back of the net. Now, you'll remember this. There's a set play that the Jets have where they win the draw. Actually, it's a 50-50 draw. Gabe Vilardi jumps in, throws it back to the point. They move it to a guy who then moves it against the grain back down to the corner. And I believe it's Kyle Connor who gets it down low. It's a great example of the Jets breaking down LA's power play and being like, okay, this is what we think will work. And it does. They get an opportunity out of it, and then it never happens again. Why? Because LA's smart. They're well coached, and they closed that loophole. So the Jets found that loophole. They attacked it, got them an opportunity. They didn't score, and then chance closed. When the LA Kings are being aggressive like they are, not only are they doing so in a way where everyone else understands for that guy to be aggressive, they have to not necessarily be right on their guy, but they need to cover off all the shooting lane or all the passing lanes, right? So that's what those guys are doing. They're working. What allows the guy pressuring the puck to go kamikaze and pressure Mark Scheifele on the boards and try and trap him there, which they did over and over and over again. The other guys have to be there shutting down those lanes. They're doing a good job of that. But the other part of it is it looks like it's just a straight line that guy is making towards Mark Scheifele to get that puck. But it's not necessarily. He's trapping the puck on a certain side of Mark Scheifele, because if he does that, if he says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pressure him so that he has to move the puck up high towards the blue line, not down low towards the corner. I won't allow him to move the puck down to that corner. And what that does is if he moves it up high, now I've got him trapped, and I've everyone else on the ice knows the puck can't go down low. It has to go up high, which makes it easier for the next guy when Mark Scheifele tries to move it to jump the queue, try and cut off that pass. And LA did it over and over again and got it out of the zone. The Winnipeg Jets do the exact same thing. They had it done to them on this night. I've always said this in every facet of the game, and this has been the case with the Jets since 2018. If you try and sit back against the Jets, they will burn you. The only thing that works is staying on them and constantly punching them in the mouth. That's what LA did in their power play, but they did it in a smart and strategic way. It's not willy-nilly pressure. It's pressure with a plan, and that plan worked brilliantly on this night.
Yeah, and like you talked about, the Jets have been doing the same thing on their PK this year. It's predicting where the play is going next and then attacking that spot also.
It's forcing the play into a spot and then knowing that you can go there because there's no other place for it to go. Yeah.
Just quickly here, I wrote about this as part of my story today, and Beer League asks, how has Kyle Connor not scored a power play goal since December of 2024? That was December 23rd against the Leafs in Toronto. I was at the game. Who has been scoring all the power play goals? I was flabbergasted by that stat. Like, we're coming up on almost a full calendar year, Sean. And the wild part is that Connor had a ton of power play goals prior to that point. I mean, and he is a consistent power play goal scorer. I wrote earlier, 67 in his career. He's almost always near double digits. He had 9 last year in the first half of the year and has not had one since. I asked Scott Arniel about it in Minnesota during the road trip earlier in the week, or last week, sorry. The time is sort of all melding together. He's not as concerned because Kyle's getting a ton of helpers on the power play.
Exactly.
But Sean, what is it going to take for Kyle to get, a power play goal, and what would that mean to make a very good power play even better, or is it necessary to make the power play better?
So I think the answer is no. So what we've talked about with the Winnipeg Jets power plays, so when Kyle Connor's power play goal scoring went dormant, did the power play? Heck no. The power play was absolutely on fire. It was the best power play in the league for a long time, even after Kyle Connor stopped scoring on that power play. So it's a couple things here. One, clearly, penalty kills came in and said, listen, we're just not going to let Kyle Connor score, okay? He is the most dangerous option. So we think if we take away that option, it's, and just do not allow that option, it's going to cut down on the number of goals these players score against us. So I just don't think like a lot of those goals that you talked about, Ken, I remember those 9 power play goals he had at the beginning of the year. How many of them did he get the puck? And then not only did he have time, but he could take 2 or 3 steps towards the net in a little bit of a void, right? And then do the about to shoot, the little wrist lock.
Mr. Wrister, yeah.
And then now what happens is the goaltender doesn't know when you are going to release. And his release is so quick that if he can get you to respond to a faked shot, then he can release it to the spot he needs to go. He just simply isn't being given anywhere near that time. The beneficiaries of that are the likes of last year. Nikolai Ehlers was a huge beneficiary of it. So far this year, Alex Iafallo has been. Gabe Velarde clearly was a beneficiary. Mark Scheifele. We've seen that one-timer that he started unleashing more and more. So the other half of this is Kyle Connor is a mature enough player and takes enough pride in his passing that he's now become the distributor. Mark Scheifele's goal, where he sets the record for the most points in Jets 2.0 history, is a gorgeous pass on the power play from the half wall all the way across the ice through a seam to Mark Scheifele's stick, one-timer, boom, it's in the back of the net. It's gorgeous. You know what? Most other teams would look and be like, we've got a setup man like that on our power play. How nice is that? It's just we've all become so accustomed to thinking of Kyle Connor as a trigger man, which he traditionally was and still remains. But he's added that passing element to his game that makes him just as dangerous, and he's smart enough and mature enough and doesn't have an ego that gets in the way of him saying, they're not going to give it to me, fine. Someone else can score this. He's not the guy who's like Patrick Laine, who's going to come out and say, yeah, getting assists is nice, but I really like scoring goals. Kyle Connor is going to tell you, whatever this team needs me to do, I'm going to do. It's maturity. It's why that's gone on as long as it has. And I don't think it's a problem one bit.
Yeah, agreed. And same, that's what Scott O'Neill said. I mean, the teams are definitely shading him, trying to take away the one-timer. I thought today that one of the best chances the Jets had on the power play was Kyle's direct pass to Alex Iafallo for the redirection. Iafallo got a rebound chance on it. So, I mean, again, I totally agree with you. I just think that it's still, for a goal scorer, if Kyle wants to get 50, and again, this isn't about what Kyle wants, and we're the ones talking about him getting 50, not Kyle. For him to be, 45 to 50 goal scorer, he probably needs to get that element up a little bit, but he'd be fine being a 97 to 100 point player.
Sure.
If he adds up more assists and he's getting those opportunities and he's creating space elsewhere for the people around him.
And yes. Okay, I wanted to address Beer League saying, chalking it up to other teams taking notice of KC still boggles my mind. Ovi's parked his butt in the same spot for 20 years. Teams took notice. Teams took notice, but it didn't stop him from breaking 99's record. Sorry about that. Should have grabbed my glasses for that. Okay, two totally different types of scorers. Ovi's got a Patrick Laine-esque, Laine has a Ovi-esque unstoppable shot, right? Like the kind that if you get it off, he's able to thread the net. Like what makes those guys amazing is not only their ability to shoot a shot that the goalies just can't stop, but it's actually their ability through their peripheral vision to like see where the sticks are and the bodies and all these kind of things and find that little lane. And those guys just shoot. So they don't need a lot of room. There's a lot of times the guy steps out and he's there to block Ovi, and Ovi sees, well, he's got the far side blocked. He doesn't quite have the inside blocked, and boom, he goes inside and he sees that the goalie's shoulder's not there. Kyle Connor has always been, in my opinion, and Ken, you can disagree with this, a hide in the weeds type of goal scorer, right? Now, what that means is when he gets the puck, everyone is like, where did he come from, right? And that element of surprise, he's great at capitalizing on. Does he have a great shot? Phenomenal shot. No doubt he does. But he doesn't have, in my opinion, the kind of shot that he can just tee off and go through everybody and find that little lane to get in there. Usually what happens is he gets it, he's all alone, and my belief is if it's between him and the goaltender who's like, oh my God, Kyle Connor's got the puck, he's going to beat him. He's going to find a way to score in that moment, but he's not the kind of guy that if you are entirely focused on him is going to be able to unleash that scoring. It takes a very, very special kind of scorer to do that. And it's a specific guy with a specific shot. And you're talking, like you'd said, Alexander Ovechkin, Patrick Laine was that for a while. He was that last year when he came back. Seems to be the last tool he has left in his arsenal. And Steve Stamkos was that for a number of years as well. Guys who could just pull that shot off. And when they had the window, they could get it through. Ken, I guess what I'm saying when it comes to Kyle Connor, though, and his ability to just kind of move away from scoring and make the pass, do those kind of things. Think about it. It's not his shot that ties up the Manitoba Miracle. It's a slap pass that everyone thinks is a shot that goes to the front of the net. It's just another way of saying his game is an all-around game, especially with his defense. Just like the headband goes all the way around this noggin of mine. Has been waiting too long for Glenn and Jonah over at Myers to see me put on the headband. So let's do it. Time to make this a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny Show. And much like Kyle Connor has an all-around game, so too does Myers Pharmacy have an all-around game, in that they can cover you anywhere, all around the city, because they deliver all around the city. So if you have any pharmacy needs, any health food, any supplement needs, Myers is the place to go. They will come to you. Give them a call, folks. Tell them Kenny and Renny sent you. All right, Ken, time for the Johnston Group Got You Covered play of the game. I think we're in agreement on this one.
Yeah, no doubt. You talked about Dylan DeMello, his ability to get his stick on the empty net. I think it was during the 5-on-3 for Andrei Kuzmenko. Just an exceptional defensive effort. Kuzmenko looking skyward because he thought he missed it, but we're both in agreement. We're pretty sure that he redirected it, and because he redirected it, he saved a goal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that to me was the end of the game, and then the end of the game ended up coming with the Dallas shot on the power play. But Dylan DeMello kept that team alive, even though he was one of the guys who got victimized on that first goal of the game that had put them a little bit behind. Regardless, for me, he had the Jets covered on this night. Hey, do you run a small business in Canada? Look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. And Ken, we both, I think, had Adam Lowry as the backup for that, with that big hit that he had, having his teammates covered as soon as he was back on the ice. Time for the keg save of the game. What do you got?
Yeah, I think it's Hellebuck's read on Kuzmenko start of the second period. And it's funny, we've used Kuzmenko with 2 great chances, but Kuzmenko has not been playing the way that he did when he got to LA last year. Seems to kind of be lurking in the weeds. No, exactly. This is, get hot, then go cold, and kind of in the weeds today. Had a couple great chances, but for me, it was the great read by Hellebuck to get over for the one-timer. He just made it look so easy.
Yeah, for me, I've got Darcy Kemper in the first period, and I don't, I can't. I think it was like a cross crease kind of thing, but it was a little bit of a wow save. It was going to be a hard one to top, no doubt. But for me, that one is the keg save of the game. Doesn't really matter though what we think, Ken, does it? It matters what you folks at home think. Share with us your hashtag the keg save of the game. You are automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last, and our winner of the keg save of the game from our last show, that would be Donnie Boy. Donnie Boy, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name. Send me your email. I'll have the fine folks at the keg send you a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last. Ken, we were golfing with the boys from the keg this summer, and the downtown location is eventually going to be moving closer to the arena, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Anyways, until then, they've got you covered, just like Donnie Boy is going to find out with his $50 gift certificate. Okay, we had you covered on this night, closing in on 2 a.m. Ken, anything you need to say before we shut this down?
No, just wrapping up the bow on Lowry. Important for the Jets to get him back. I mean, obviously Adam was on in the intermission saying, there's some rust to shake off. Thought he was solid overall. He had 4 hits in the game, 1 shot on net, 2 block shots. A little bit of a tough day in the circle, but otherwise, solid. You saw a lot of good things from having him back in the lineup, and he's only going to get better as the season rolls along here.
Yeah, a big body like that, you'd think it would take some time, and you could see with him that he was, he's demanding on himself, and that he's not where he wants to be.
Good shorthanded chance, though. He had the one good shorthanded chance.
Yes, no doubt. Okay, that's it for us. Time for us to shut it down. Want to thank everybody who showed up in the middle of the night like this. We're always kind of blown away and impressed by that. Thank you so much. If you do appreciate us doing the same for you and the conversations that take place in this space, we implore you to appreciate our sponsors who fight to keep the conversation going in this space. For us, that's Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent, Vittorio Rossi, Cambrian Credit Union, Pristine Roofing, Flame and Comfort, Sweet Lou Furlan, Myers Pharmacy, the Johnston Group, and the Keg. Thank you to them. Thank you to all of you. We will reconvene when the Jets play Friday, the San Jose Sharks.
Yes,
Gotta say, I still have that hockey fan in me that is just kind of like the young guys, like I understand why people are always upset by the guys. Oh, Brad Lambert should have made it last year and he should be the second line center and all that kind of stuff. I get that, because when young, exciting players come in, there's just something different about it. I watched Ivan Demidov in that game tonight with the Montreal Canadiens. Seeing what Schaefer has done on Long Island this year has been absolutely phenomenal. And watching, Macklin Celebrini so far this year, every time we've seen him, he's come as advertised. And I will say this, the Jets put a lot of young stars to the test, right? A lot of young stars are racking up points, go and play the Jets, and then it's like, yeah, okay, nice try. Macklin Celebrini, when he plays the Jets, is dangerous as ever. He's a hard guy to contain. Doesn't matter if it's easy, wide open ice or if it's hard, challenging ice. That's the kind of player who can get it done. I am always excited when you get to see young up-and-coming players like that. Like we will next game. We'll reconvene after that and talk about it. Thanks, folks. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.